consumers buy too much, wear it for very little. The majority of clothing that's produced is actually put in landfill or incineration within 1 year.
We use AI to help the defect detection and sizing inspections, and which is improve the quality and reduce the waste of the faulty products.
The next gold rush is who is going to crack this and who is going to find a recycling solution, because that is where the money is. The money is in the landfills, the money is in the incinerators.
Hello and welcome to Connected. I'm Susan Chiles, sitting in for Divya Gopalan. Fashion is one of the world's most polluting industries, with the majority of clothing being landfilled or burned within 1 year of production. When consumers browse the shops for the latest styles and hottest new looks, very few are likely to think about the entire cradle-to-grave life cycle of a product. What was once a hands-on business, the sketching, cutting, stitching, is also becoming more and more digitalized, with a strong pivot towards sustainability. How can the industry work closer together to generate more sustainable fashion? A new mindset for the global fashion industry is fast setting in as circular fashion gains momentum and fashion tech accelerates. Today, let's hear from our two guests who will talk about how sustainability and fashion tech are driving the fashion industry forward. Joining us are Elly in Taipei. Elly leads digital product creation at Makalot, an apparel manufacturer for some of the world's largest fashion retailers. She is also a strong voice for digital transformation within the fashion industry. Also joining us from London is Christina Ding, who founded NGO Redress, an award-winning social impact business, the R Collective. Christina was listed as one of British Vogue's top 30 inspirational women. Welcome, Elly and Christina. It's nice to have you. Christina, you have been a sustainable fashion advocate for over 15 years. How serious do you feel is the sustainability issue now in the fashion industry?
Well, I think fashion and sustainability is absolutely critical for the future of the fashion industry and also, of course, the future of our planet. It's every day that you turn on the news and you see another flood or drought or environmental crisis that obviously is affecting humans also. And I think now that the fashion industry has been widely recognized as being a major, major polluter, we have to really look at it, at sustainability urgently. I've been working this for 15 years and I've been calling it urgent for 15 years or more. But now it really is urgent. If there's a better word for urgent, I would like to use that, because wherever we are today, which is in quite a big crisis, everything is set to worsen and increase. And that's because fashion consumption is increasing, global population is increasing, the way that we buy clothes is increasing. And every time you buy clothes, produce clothes, so too do you create carbon, water impacts, negative environmental impacts, loss of biodiversity. And wherever we are today with carbon and fashion, if the fashion industry continues as it is today, by 2050, the fashion industry will use 25% of the world's carbon budget. So that's massively significant. So the fashion industry really has to wake up and start really making sustainability happen rather than talking about it.
Yeah, as you said, it's actually a very critical situation. Elly, how does fashion tech, with its array of digital tools and processes, help the industry become more sustainable?
I do believe a digital tool is essential for making the fashion industry more sustainable. And what happens is that, as you know, the fashion industry really has three main process phases. One is developing, the second is like ordering and fit, and the last one is production. And that, since we're ultimately wearing the physical samples, so like digital tools naturally have the greater impact on the initial stages, like the developing or the order booking or the fit phase. And for example, during the developing, that we're actually using 3D digital garment to replace the physical samples. And they save the fabric, water, dyes, the transportation for sure. And all of this is having a big environment impact. And secondly, while we're talking about the older or fifth phase, we actually use digital garment to present different styles, different colors to our clients. So we do kind of like crowdsourcing testing to get the feedback and refine the designs before anything physical produced. So that means that we can make more accurate orders and less overproductions and ultimately less waste.
Sounds like an evolution's happening in the industry. Christina, can you help our audience understand what is circular fashion? Is this another way to look at sustainability that goes beyond reducing waste?
Well, circular fashion, it rolls off the tongue, but it's actually very complicated. So if I could try and make it as simple as possible, the circular economy is a system where nothing is wasted, materials are not wasted, where nature is regenerated, and where responsibility for a product's entire life cycle is taken into account. It's wildly complicated, circular economy, but the thing that knows it best and the thing that has been doing it forever is nature. So to make circular economy really simple, you just have to imagine that if a tree falls down in a couple of years, you would go back maybe faster, and the tree would have decomposed and all of the tree would have been absorbed into another system, whether it's food or it's going into soil, for example. So when you think of clothing and you think of what is the circular economy and what is circular fashion, I always imagine like my jacket as a tree. We need to be able to create clothes and use clothes when no materials are wasted. And that is actually like a philosophical goal, because in practice, it really does not happen. And I know that circular fashion is now the buzzword of the industry. We've all got to do it. But the reality is that only 1%, less than 1% of the fashion industry is actually circular. So we have got a very long way to go to make fashion actually circular.
Let's now take a look at a video sample showing fashion tech digital tools that are being used to bring to life a designer's concept while minimizing the use of materials in the process. Elly, can you tell us more about videos like the one we just saw? Where did the concept come from? What was your creative process and what were they used for?
So like a digital physical art piece, the designer pieces are limited in numbers, and we would like to then make less possible, and they reach a limited audience. But with the digital content, we can create digital twins of these pieces and tell more surreal or conceptual stories. So what we can not just only exploring those like fantastic environments, play the gravity and physics, and really capture the essential of the designer's vision in a way that is simply not possible be traditional photography achieved. And then like this kind of like digital garment can be just reviewed in any kinds of angle, and those like incredible details, because you can zoom in as close as possible and then share with a much wider audience online. And this is a really powerful tool for both creative expression and expanding the reach of fashion. And this type of digital content is often used for new product launches, interactive exhibitions, and advertising and marketing, so we can get less sample made. The concept usually is actually come from fashion designers, and we plan it and propose some of the workflow or the videos and execute the productions. So this is very interactive process and with a lot of back and forth communication, but we think it is worthy to capture the better vision and achieve a desired impact with a more sustainable way.
Yeah, it sounds like it's not only sustainable, it creates a lot more agility for the designer to play around. As you said, it's much more interactive, and it's really, really revolutionizing the industry. That sounds really, really good. Christina, I understand that transparency and traceability are two important aspects in the fashion supply chain. What about technology? Do you think it has a role to play?
Absolutely, yes, yes, yes. Technology is absolutely central to sustainability, transparency, traceability in the fashion industry. And traditionally, and still largely, the fashion industry is riddled with a fragmented, broken supply chain, with a huge lack of transparency. So we have a fashion industry that we don't really even understand and that we're trying to clean up. So much so that even the data on annual global production is so vague. Some are saying it's 100 billion that we're making new garments a year. Others are saying 150 billion new garments a year. So that's a huge difference that we're not even able to get our data straight. Don't even start thinking about measuring carbon because we're still not measuring carbon particularly efficiently. So in order to rein in this industry and to get it cleaner and more efficient and more profitable and more sustainable and more beautiful, we have to implement technology so that we can trace, monitor, and then improve what we're currently doing. So yes, technology is central. Yes, we're seeing it revolutionize different parts of the fashion industry, but we are still pretty much in the dark ages in terms of tracing what's actually going on in the fashion industry. We know more and more fashion brands now, they have more traceability in like where their garments were produced, but many fashion brands don't know where their textiles were produced or where their fibers were produced. And so we're seeing the revolution, and I've got to admit I have a little hobby, which is that at all of the conferences that I go to, I always circle the word digital technology, etc. And it is being spoken about absolutely everywhere, and that won't just be the fashion industry, that will be the automobile, that will be the food, agriculture, etc. So the digital revolution is absolutely key, but we really have to get on and actually do it. One of the problems with the fashion industry is there's a lot of talk but not much action, and the reason for that is because it's a wildly complicated industry. But getting technology embedded right now so that in the future we can actually monitor and improve things is absolutely fundamental.
Yeah, so as you said, I think, Elly was talking about how, tech and digitalization is being applied in the creative process. Sounds very advanced, but what you're saying is that it's very fragmented across the industry, and it really does take everyone's efforts to bring it together. Elly, how does sustainability play into your conversation with clients from around the world? What do they say?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I totally agree with Christina. Like sustainability is definitely a hot topic with our clients. Like about 90% of our clients are from North American, and rest of them is 10% from Europe and Japan. And there is noticeable differences in how deeply those business enterprises talking about sustainability. Like in Europe or North Americans, sustainability has been a focus for a while now, and they're looking for concrete actions and measuring results, but measurable results. And in Japan, they're still exploring the possibilities and potential to any organizational changes. But to be honest, the same as what Chris and I were just talking about, that is really complex issue. So we are consistently working to improve and find the balances. Yeah.
Yeah, I think striking that balance is very important. Christina, what are most of your efforts focused on in working to solve sustainability issues in the fashion industry? And how does your work with Redress and the R Collective tackle these challenges?
Well, yes. I mean, having founded two organizations that work within circular fashion, we've got a broad reach in terms of enabling this complex system. So Redress is an environmental nonprofit that works to accelerate circularity by educating designers and consumers, particularly in Asia. We have an Asia focused. The reason that we at Redress, the nonprofit, focus on designers and consumers is because designers are, or 80% of the environmental impact of a product is laid down at the design stage. And that's quite a big statement, but it's also very obvious. If you really think about whether I design a shirt, a carpet, or a table, the design stage is where you lock in all of the impact. So Redress does a huge amount of education with universities around the world, around Asia, with emerging fashion designers, and digital design tools are really part of that also, getting the design stage right. My goodness, if we could do that, we would solve the problem. Then we work with consumers for obvious reasons. Consumers buy too much, wear it for very little. You said in your intro, but the majority of clothing that's produced is actually put in landfill or incineration within 1 year. Some estimates suggest that 80% of clothes that are produced within 1 year of production, they're already in the landfill or incineration. So we have to inspire better behavior with consumers, because ultimately the consumer is buying this product. That's the nonprofit. Then at the R Collective, that's a social impact business that works with luxury fashion businesses on their excess materials. You could call it waste, their surplus, their excess materials. And we find a win-win solution for luxury fashion businesses to keep their very valuable, both financially valuable and also environmentally very valuable materials in use. And that means particularly working with what we call IP sensitive waste materials, or excess. And that means unsold clothing stock, there's a lot, and IP sensitive fabrics that carry, prints and logos, etc. So we have a solution at the R Collective that really supports hand in hand and in strong partnerships luxury brands deal with their very, very valuable excess materials.
It sounds like you guys are doing a lot. I especially like what you said about educating designers. You're really starting at the source to be able to promote sustainability early on in the stages of the cycle. Elly, what about you? How are 3D solutions and AI being applied to generate more sustainable fashion at the design stage?
Okay, so honestly, it's not just in design stage that we're actually using AI in many areas to support sustainability. So mainly we'll be talking about 3 parts. Like with our clients that we use it for design developing, including trend forecasting and generating like inspiration images, and that actually helps to streamline the creativity process and reduce the waste of time and resources. And then we actually use it in the manufacturing side as well. That's because we use AI to help the defect detection and sizing inspections, and which is improve the quality and reduce the waste of the faulty products. And then from a marketing perspective as well, that the AI is used for ad generation or some of the personalized recommendations, which can help target the right customers and reduce overproduction and lean, inventories. Yeah.
We will now hear from Chiles. He's the co-founder of the Digital Fashion Group, a consultancy in Europe working with fashion institutes and businesses to adopt digital innovations. He takes the designer's perspective on sustainability and talks about how it may clash with consumers' expectations.
The designer has many digital tools now available to them to help them in the innovative process of their creative development. And that is getting that spark and then delivering their vision at the end of the day. Once the vision is done and developed, it's then something that should appeal to a consumer. From a consumer's perspective, the conflict is, I want to be sustainable, I want to be responsible, I don't like what's happening to the planet. However, they're also driven by desirability, accessibility, affordability of fashion. And by its very nature, fashion is cyclical and disposable. Fast fashion today is throwaway fashion. And this is where the conflict exists, is for a consumer who wants to be responsible, who wants to be sustainable. They have to balance that desire with the fact that they're going to buy something and throw it away.
Christina, it seems that the fashion industry spends a great deal of their efforts to meet the seasonal trend forecast and market demands. Do you feel enough focus and investments are being made to other aspects of the industry's ecosystem, like sustainability and innovation?
The fashion industry's investment into R&D is really woefully low. Recent reports suggest that on average, about 1% of a fashion business's revenue is going into R&D. And you can compare that with the automobile, which is at around 15% of revenue is going back into R&D. And now it's not really that surprising if you actually think about it, because the fashion industry works fast. It works quite short term. It's next season. It's instant revenue generating. It's looking at margins that are quite small. It's trying to squeeze profit all over the place. And so it actually takes big leadership and long-term thinking for a fashion business that's churning out, let's just say, fast, cheap fashion, for it to put and invest long-term money into R&D. But what we're seeing more and more in facing the the challenges of sustainability in the fashion industry is that fashion brands must put more money into R&D. The problem is that fashion business is not doing particularly well right now. So it's not easy to speak to a CFO and say, yeah, you might be laying off staff, but could you put some more into your R&D? It's just not an easy argument when the fashion industry is facing problems. We've got fashion brands, closing down post-COVID. We have a lot of closures and sort of mergers and acquisitions that financially winning money for research is not easy, but it is necessary. But we don't live in an ideal world. We have to face the music. And if only we could get some more research money into different parts of the fashion industry, we could actually make some advancements, but I don't see it happening particularly soon.
Yeah, so it sounds like there is actually a lot of transformation that needs to take place, not just on tech or, just talks about sustainability. Elly, for the fashion industry to be truly transformed digitally in sustainability, how do you feel? What is more important, better technology or changing people's mindset about fashion, or what's important in fashion?
The digital journey actually starting since I think it's 2005 with the digital fashions. And then honestly, due to the hardware limitations and software limitations, and of course, no talent at that time, and then of course, no mindset at that time. So that is actually take really long time that make this digital fashions to help the fashion industry to get on this sustainable industry roadmap. And then what that actually accelerate this process, what I say is not even enough, but just speed up a little bit, is actually in 2017 that we have the high performance graphic cards coming out, so that it become a game changer for the 3D rendering. So we can have this 3D rendering coming out faster and make this brand side finally realize that, okay, that 3D or talking about digital garment truly can replace or help the workflow or the developing process faster, or they can replace part of physical samples. And then through the pandemic, it's actually, I'll say, forced some of the companies to embrace the digital transformations. Because I think around 2019, that most of the brands they were actually say, oh, 3D, the digital garment looks amazing, but I need a physical too. So they actually require both. Nothing get reduced, not environment friendly at all at that time. But I think after pandemic, they kind of understand the importance. I think mindset is quite important, but this is a long process, and that need I think it needs the efforts from no matter it's environment or company itself. It's not something that we're talking about mindset and they will just change immediately like a magic. Yeah.
Yeah, I think as Christina said very early on in the show, the sense of urgency really needs to be there. And there's really no better time to start than right now. So Christina, in fashion and many other industries, sustainability and profitability are often seen as conflicting interests. Are there financial incentives for the fashion businesses to be more sustainable?
Well, no. But we need financial incentives in legislation and policy to reward and incentivize, as the name suggests, good practices. And largely, we're not really seeing that. I mean, there's definitely a whole raft of policy and legislation that's due to come in different countries around the world. Apparently, 35 sustainability-linked legislation is due to come into effect in the fashion industry by 2027, which is very, very soon. And some of that will deal with some incentives. But legislation and policy change, as you know, takes a very, very long time because you've got to get it right and you've got to put in a policy that can be regulated. And that is very complicated in the fashion industry, which is so poorly regulated. So we're calling for incentives because we need incentives, and it will come. Will it come quick enough? I don't know. But there is another incentive that comes much quicker than policy, and that is cash. That is the market itself. And when you look at the market, you know that there is a market for sustainability in the fashion industry. Like there's money to be made from fashion businesses that can get it right. It's suggested that 500 billion USD is lost every year due to clothing underutilization and the lack of recycling. So if you flip that on its head, theoretically, there is a 500 billion USD annual market availability if we can keep our clothes in use and if we can find some sort of recycling solution. So there are incentives out there that we need to win. It's like the next gold rush is who is going to crack this and who is going to find a recycling solution, because that is where the money is. The money is in the landfills. The money is in the incinerators. We're just burning it up where we could actually find a way to put it in the bank. And that is a big incentive that should beat the policymakers.
Christina, final question. When it comes to sustainability, what do you consider to be a win for the fashion industry in the next few years?
Well, the win for sustainability in the fashion industry is that we can put it into place. It costs more on the supply chain side, product side, material side, but we can put a better product out into market and entice consumers to buy it, keep it in use, and ultimately prove that sustainability in the fashion industry is profitable. And the way to prove that sustainability in the fashion industry is profitable is, well, we might not be able to prove it, but the way that I see it happening is imagining the carrot and the stick analogy, which is that if fashion brands don't do it, i.e. the stick, we've got legislation, we've got consumer backlash, we've got reputational risk of doing the wrong thing. Now that's a big stick that should really kick this donkey forward. And we've also got the carrot. And the carrot is that consumers say they want it, they say they care, they think they care, they report that they care about sustainable fashion. Whether they pay more is another question. So basically what we need to see in the next few years is that sustainability in the fashion industry makes money. And I'm really looking forward to more sticks, because I think those sticks beating this donkey forward is what's going to make it push towards a cleaner future.
Thank you both for coming on the show today. That was a really good exchange. We have Christina Ding and Elly Cheng. It's been a pleasure. For our viewers everywhere, thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode or wish to add to the dialogue, do join the conversation on our social media. And remember, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay connected.